In this video, we're going to be pulling the windshield out of this S10 Blazer. Now, there's many different ways to pull a windshield out, many different tools to use, and we're just going to kind of go over a little bit of each tool that you can use to pull a windshield out from home. Because pulling the windshield out is probably the hardest part. Personally, in my opinion, it's better to hire a glass company. Um, Due to the pandemic, we couldn't find a windshield. Nobody had a windshield in stock for this Blazer, so what we ended up doing was going to a junkyard and cutting one out with a wire. Um, Mostly just because we didn't know what tools to bring and didn't have electricity and didn't have cordless reciprocating saw and stuff like that. So we pulled it out with what they call the piano wire method, and I'll show that in this video here. We'll go over that. Um, but personally, if you buy a windshield new, just to buy the windshield, so especially for a vehicle around this age, it's going to be around 180 to $250. It costs almost the exact same just to buy the windshield from a company and have them come out and remove the old one and put the new one in. So I always highly recommend just having a glass company do it. But if you're wanting to do it yourself, it may be the same situation. You can, whatever vehicle you are working on, maybe you can't get the windshield and you have to go to a junkyard to get one out. Um, this will be a good video just to show you the different types of ways of cutting a windshield out and then of course gluing it back in. This is just a quick look of some of the tools that we'll be using or that you can use to pull a windshield out with. And the last thing, of course, is the super fast urethane that you actually glue the windshield back in with. However, some older cars back in the 60s and 70s used a ribbon strip, but that's another topic. But it's just a variety of tools that we're going to go over in this video. It doesn't mean you have to run out and buy every one of them. It just depends on the type of vehicle you're working on and the project you're doing if you're going to need these or not. In this method, you'll be using these tools out of this kit, which is the wire, the poking device, and the handles. Now, we didn't get to do a big video on this because we actually used this in the junkyard and we weren't filming. But this is how the piano wire supposedly works. And the windshield's already cut loose, but I wanted to show this. You just kind of push in the wire with this tool, and I have sometimes found you have to poke through the seal first, and then with a tool without the wire on it, then maybe you can go back in the same spot with the wire on it. And what you're going to do is you're going to feed your wire, just kind of like sewing. You're going to feed the wire to the inside. I don't show the handles, how I hook the wire up to the handles in this because there's about 3 different ways or 3 different kits where the handles are different. So you're going to have to look at the instructions on how to actually loop the wire into the handles. But all you do is just do a saw action back and forth and move to the direction you want to cut the windshield or to cut the sill from, if it's easier for you to go back and forth and pull upward, and you just want to always keep your wire pulling a little bit away from the glass. You don't want to actually cut into the glass because you can cut the glass with this wire. You want to kind of keep it still. You don't go crazy with it. And sometimes it doesn't hurt to have 2 people. Matter of fact, when we went to the junkyard, my friend and I, we both did the saw action. He was on the outside because when you get to the bottom of almost any windshield that's sealed in, that's the most difficult spot. Now sometimes, like on this one, the top was bad because the top kind of loops over the windshield, so you have to almost cut into the metal sometimes. So the wire method is not the best. But they did us a great job in the junkyard getting this windshield out because without any other tools, it would just been too hard. But in your junkyard, you're cutting a windshield out. You don't care if you scratch the paint on the vehicle you're cutting it out of. But it's just something to consider when you're doing it on a car that you got to put the windshield back in. Now, one tip on using this type of tool is you can take you a spray bottle of soap and water, like maybe even Windex, just a little bit of water, a little bit of soap, and that'll help lube. Actually, I found the best combination is just some dishwashing liquid like you wash dishes with and a bottle of water, and just spray your wire and spray around the windshield, and that'll keep your wire cool because it'll start smoking when you're doing the sawing action. Another thing you have to watch out for is when you're using this wire, it will cut a headliner. You got to realize that when they put a windshield in a car, they lift the body over the top of the windshield a little bit, not necessarily over top, but it makes it harder to get the wire in and out uh, without cutting into the paint. It also, the headliner usually runs up to the windshield inside the car, so that also makes it hard not to cut the headliner. Though, like I said, the wire is great if you're in a junkyard and you don't care, or if it's the only alternative you have, but you have to be very careful. I've seen some videos that there were people removing the fenders, removing the dash, removing a lot of stuff that you don't have to. I can tell you a professional windshield installer does not come out and take your car apart to remove the windshield. This is the most common handle used for the wire cutting tool. You'll just slide it in the single hole and you'll see a little slot. It'll come out of that slot. Then you just stick it in this little hole at the top. You don't have to leave it as much as I stuck out there. It's just to show you that. And when you pull the handle up, it just kind of tapers in on the wire and locks it in. It's not that hard. This is a multifunction tool, or known also as an oscillating tool. This is a scraper blade you attach to it. This can cut out the seal on a windshield great. They make several different kind of scraping blades. Some of them kind of step down on an angle like this one. It just depends on if you need one or not. When you go to a place that sells a tool like this, you can find all the blades. But the bottom of the windshield, the seal where they put the glue or the urethane, is usually higher up than it is on the sides and the top. So it's harder to get to. And like I said, a wire can destroy the dash. So a tool like this can come in handy, being able to work up there to the bottom of the seal, or work up to the bottom of the urethane and actually start cutting out. Now, you can lube it like I mentioned with the wire. That does actually help. But they use it'll crack the windshield. So if you're trying to take a windshield out and save it, don't use this tool. As you can see, this tool works pretty good on the inside. You see that little sparkle, that's actually the liquid where we sprayed the liquid soap to kind of help lube it. But this way you're not damaging the headliner or the trim by using this tool. Now this tool is probably one of the most dangerous tools to use as far as like trying to save the glass. If you're trying to cut the windshield out and you're wanting to save it, this one can be dangerous. The cars this works best on are the ones I was talking about, use the ribbon seal like from the 60s and 70s. With windshields that are installed with urethane, that blade sometimes just can't cut it. And you can put a lot of effort on pulling, and you see here I'm pulling hard and I cannot get it to start cutting, even with it lubed. Now lubing here, and to be honest with you, the blade's almost not long enough to catch all the urethane at the bottom, so it seems like it's cutting, and what it's probably doing is just probably cutting just a little bit. You can see when it let loose, I banged into the door, so you're going to end up chipping the paint. So this tool isn't really the best idea for urethane installed windshields. The ribbon seals are real soft, and that was what it was designed for, and it'll cut those out pretty good. Of course, I've seen some cars really old and it won't cut either, but it's designed more for the older cars. Now this blade is great for the length and stuff, to be able to get in around the headliner and so forth, because you'll use this from the inside more than likely. Depending on the car, I mean, this Blazer, we could get to it from the side. Once the trim stuff is removed, you get to work on the sides and stuff. But it's also a dangerous tool. It can jerk, jab, and everything else. So you have to proceed with caution with it. The next step is just go ahead and pull the windshield out. Once you've got it cut out successfully, it should just lift right out. There shouldn't be any battle of getting it out at all. once the windshield is out, it's a good idea to go ahead and around with urethane is on the pillars and stuff. It's a good idea to go ahead and trim it up, shape it up and stuff, and get it smooth if you can. If not, it doesn't really matter as long as there's not any big globs to keep it from the windshield from setting down. And this is a great opportunity after that to go ahead and vacuum out all the dust and dirt and stuff that you can't normally get to. After vacuuming the debris out, go ahead and get some soap and water and wipe everything down, all the dirt and stuff around there. Then you'd probably want to go ahead and use a little enamel reducer. That way you don't have to paint. On the sill to the where the paint is and stuff, and then carefully take some lacquer thinner and wipe the urethane seal down or what's left of it. That way it's grease free and ready to accept the new urethane.
When you go back in with the windshield, you want to use this 3M Window-Weld. It used to be known as super fast urethane. Actually still printed on the tube. But this is the only thing to put in a windshield with. Nothing else.
Now when applying the super fast urethane, you want a pretty good size bead, at least about 1/4 inch. Now some of these vehicles will have little rubber blocks that are spacers. They'll put in various places. That's to keep the windshield at a specific height to the body of the vehicle. So if they had those in there, you'll want to be able to put them back in or have to get new ones because more than likely whatever you used to cut the windshield out will probably cut them down. If in doubt, just get your bead at least 1/4 inch to maybe 3/8 inch high and try to work it in. But if it's got rubber blocks, then you might want to go to the dealer to get some more, or go to a glass company. The type of gun, I mean, this is just a squeeze handle gun, and I don't put in enough windshields to validate going buying a motorized one. They sell some that are cordless that are electric that just give you a nice steady stream of whatever you're going to be squeezing out. It helps better with this thing here. You have a little more control over it. I've seen a few glass guys run the bead around just like instantly, and it just comes out nice and smooth. But the smoother you get it and the thicker you get it, the better off you're going to be. You don't want to put it in such an abundance that it's going to squeeze out everywhere. But you're also going to want to wear gloves because this stuff, when it gets on your skin, it's almost nearly impossible to get off. You'll have to let it just kind of wear out. But you can see here I'm having trouble getting this bead to build back up smoothly, so I'm having to work it. Another important factor is these stops. You'll find stops down at the bottom on the cowl. What that does is that lets the glass rest against those little stops. That keeps the glass from sliding down. So be sure that those are in place and not lost and not broke. Otherwise your windshield can tilt or just slip all the way down. Yeah, I mean, you could tape your glass in place if that's the case, but definitely just, if you have stops, make sure they're working. Don't wait more than a minute or two if you can. As soon as you put that bead of urethane around, then you need to start getting the windshield in because that stuff does set fast, like within 5 minutes, and then it'll have a hard time sealing. So get it in. And if you can get the mirror off, being this used windshield, we could not get that mirror off without endangering breaking the glass. The clip was stuck or something. So, but if you can get the mirror off, it makes it putting a windshield in a whole lot easier. So in this one, we had to swoop it in to get it in. But just want to make sure that the glass lines up side to side. Sometimes they have little stops for that as well, but you got the stops at the bottom to set the glass height. Then just worry about getting the side to side, and then the windshield just start easing around, pushing on it a little bit just to get it to seat in. So I hope you found this video helpful. Like I said, there's a multitude of tools you can use to remove a windshield, different methods. You just really kind of have to pick what fits you the best, what you're most comfortable with, the situation. If you're just removing a windshield from a junkyard and you're trying to keep the glass intact and not break it, or if you're just trying to remove a windshield to have a new one put in, it's really going to depend on what tool you want to use for that. I think that the multi-purpose tool, the oscillating tool, is probably your best bet. Even the blade for the reciprocating saw, although it can bust a windshield if you're not careful, it wasn't really designed to try to remove a windshield perfectly without, possibly getting a crack in it. And then, like I said, put your bead down real smooth, and then set the glass in there, and then just real easy with your palm of your hands, just work around the edges, you're pushing it down. It's better to use suction cups to set the windshield in. That way you don't get, your hands in it. Even if you've got gloves on, you don't want to start getting that urethane everywhere. So it's better to install a windshield with the suction cups. So if you found this video helpful, be sure to like and subscribe, and always check back because I'm always working on something crazy. See you in the next one.